I dare you to try to change the game with this new Dynasty Startup Strategy. But first, before we dive into it, hit that intro, Brian. Welcome back to the channel. So glad you could join us again. I'm going to try something new today, a little bit different. Been giving you dynasty buys, dynasty stales, talking about 6-point passing touchdowns, quarterback framework. Today we're going to talk about dynasty startup drafts. We are in the absolute peak of dynasty offseason, gross, nothing going on. NBA finals are done, no football whatsoever. All we get to talk about is maybe some OTA highlights. That's it. We have to sit patiently until training camp to get some NFL preseason action. We all get excited for it too. Can't wait for it to come back. So what do you do to fill the time? Dynasty startups. Of course. You got to do them, right? We hammer out multiple leagues. We start startups all over the place. And a lot of people are always wondering, like, what's a good strategy to use? How can I dominate right out of the gates? How can I not screw up this startup strategy? I got you covered. I did one on a test league. I used just a generic 12-team Superflex half-point tight end premium league, and I'm going to give you this absolute vanilla cookie cutter dynasty startup strategy that you can use to go obliterate your league right from the get-go. So here's the basic premise of it. We've all heard of zero RB. People use it all the time. Underdog is filled with zero RB drafters. But what if we add one more thing to it? What if we add zero tight end? Crazy? Maybe. We're going to find out right now. And a lot of what people really think about tight end premium leagues is that tight ends really matter. We have shown through Warp multiple things on this channel that tight ends really don't change the game that much for you. The elite ones, yes, they're good, but people waste so much time drafting those mid-tier tight ends, and they're wasting valuable startup picks doing it. So I'm going to show you a real draft, and what I used, the premise for this, I picked out of the 8th spot. I just picked a random number. I used South Harmon ADP from real leagues to make all the picks except for my own. And the rules, the ground rules I set for myself is I could not take anybody who is ahead of ADP. So ADP is going to pick all the players. Anything I get when it's my turn has to be on my pick number or later. I can't take anything ahead. I can't cheat the system. Got to keep it honest. So the first round comes, of course, you know me. I'm an Anthony Richardson fan. I draft A-Rich to the moon, baby. Second round, if you look at ADP, goes pretty much as planned. Surprisingly, in ADP, Kyler Murray comes back to that 8th spot. So at the 205, Kyler Murray comes back to me. And again, the ground rules for me in this strategy is I'm not touching tight end, I'm not touching running back until after round 10. I forgot to preface that by saying, whoop, rewind this, no running back, no tight end until round 10. Those are the ground rules. I can't take anything above ADP. So I start out A-Rich, Kyler Murray. Third round reversal, of course, if you're not doing third round reversal in a Superflex League, NFL startup, you're doing it wrong. I'm sorry. I know there's some purists out there. It is absolutely unfair to not do third round reversal. The elite quarterbacks are so damn elite, to give that person an early third round pick when they get Josh Allen is almost like cheating. Do it. Third round reversal every single time. I can't get you to auction. I will at least make third round reversal standard. So in the third round reversal, I'm picking towards the front, right? Picking at 305. I go with my guy, Drake London. Didn't really like the pick. It feels like I'm taking Drake London a little too early, but because of ADP, all these wide receivers absolutely got hammered early. I still stay young. I still stay flexible. Drake London definitely has some upside, so we're doing okay here. Fourth round. Now I got to wait all the way till it comes back. I was really surprised to see in ADP I could get a guy like Michael Pittman, so that was my choice at the 408. Fifth round. I stay young. I stay on the wide receiver train, right? I'm only drafting quarterbacks and wide receivers. I already drafted 2 quarterbacks to kick off my draft. Now I've gone 2 straight wide receivers. You know where I'm going? Third wide receiver. I'm keeping it honest, all right? The guy who wants to QB hoard, I'm not going to QB hoard in this draft. I could have taken Drake May, who ADP-wise goes right after, but I ended up with Zay Flowers. So really nice young wide receiver core. Haven't really picked a direction yet. My quarterbacks are both young. We're good. 6th round. Quarterback hoarding got me. Just a little bit. I do lock up my third quarterback at the 608 in Deshaun Watson. Just looking at the board, there were some other choices I probably could have made that didn't involve tight end, didn't involve running back. TJ Hawkinson was the next tight end. Looks like Derrick Henry would have been the next running back. I could have gone Deebo Samuel, I could have gone Brian Thomas, could have gone JSN, Ladd McConkey. Any one of these guys could fit your build. I just wanted to make sure I shored up my third quarterback spot, so I went ahead and locked that up with Deshaun Watson. Now 7th round, 705. This is where we finally tap into the production, right? Like the greasy production. It's almost like we say production in a bad way. We associate production with old and gross and veterans, but it's fine. In the 705, I take Davante Adams. And at least for next year, maybe 2 years, Davante Adams is going to produce. 808, Amari Cooper, another gross, crusty wide receiver, but I'm putting points and production on my team. I have 3 very youthful receivers that I kicked off the draft with. My quarterback room is extremely solid with rushing quarterbacks where we know their ceiling is elite. I have a good, solid third quarterback. I haven't touched running back or tight end yet, so I'm rocking 5 receivers, 2 on the older side, 3 on the younger side. Haven't really decided which way this team's going to go. If it doesn't work out for me, I can always go ahead and trade Davante Adams or Amari Cooper in season. Maybe you don't get those first prices, but I might get a pretty decent second. I might get a second and a plus. You never know. People are going to want production when we get to the NFL season. I'm sorry I did it. But in the 9th round, I just couldn't pass up Michael Penix is sitting there. I know he does almost nothing for me in 2024, but I want to stay flexible. Some other options though for you who didn't want to go 4 quarterbacks, the guys who went after him that weren't running backs or tight ends: Ricky Pearsall, Xavier Legette, Calvin Ridley, Hollywood Brown, Chris Godwin, Christian Watson. Those would have been your other choice. Now we get to the 10th round. Now we can throw that no running back, no tight end thing out the door, but this is where we're at. I'm sitting with 4 quarterbacks and 5 wide receivers through 9 rounds. If I wasn't such an asshole and didn't love quarterbacks so damn much, you could realistically be sitting with 7 wide receivers. So hypothetically, just how that would look, everybody would stay the same, but instead of taking Deshaun Watson, let's say I took Brian Thomas. 4 youthful wide receivers: Drake London, Michael Pittman, Zay Flowers, Brian Thomas. And instead of taking Michael Penix, tap back into the rookie well again and take Ricky Pearsall. Not too bad. And you throw him in with Davante Adams and Amari Cooper, Bob's your uncle. It's a pretty nice youthful team to start off, and you didn't have to take any quarterbacks. I just really wanted to showcase and highlight that if you do set yourself up, if you take your third quarterback at least in the 10th round, you are free and easy, man. You can do whatever the hell you want. So in the 10th round, 1008, I take old crusty Aaron Jones, running back production, starting running back for the Vikings. Hopefully we can get another year out of Aaron Jones. If not, it's a 10th round pick, man. This is the key to me with this whole strategy. What's the difference between me taking Aaron Jones and somebody who had to spend 703 on Derrick Henry? I love Derrick Henry, and I would think most people would say reasonably they probably project Derrick Henry to finish better than Aaron Jones, but who's to say they're not relatively close? Is it really worth the 3 rounds of startup value that you had to sacrifice to take Derrick Henry that early? Even if I don't go Derrick Henry, what about Joe Mixon, who also goes in the 7th round? What's the difference between Joe Mixon and Aaron Jones? The Vikings run a really good offense. We have to assume that J.J. McCarthy is just terrible for Aaron Jones not to get scoring opportunities. The contract that they gave him says that they believe in him enough to make him the starting running back. So Aaron Jones it is for me there, 1105. I never really liked this guy, but again, a starting running back on a team probably getting the bulk of the work, Brian Robinson. Why not B-Rob? B-Rob was actually fairly productive. Now, I know with Jaden Daniels in town, Austin Eckler in town, he's probably not getting a lot of the check down work, but maybe that offense is just a titch more efficient. Maybe in the red zone, B-Rob is getting a few more touches, a few more opportunities to punch one in for 6. Listen, as my RB2, don't really hate it that much, especially considering guys like Tajay Spears go 2 rounds before him, Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs. Damn, Josh Jacobs goes in the 5th round, y'all. The difference between Josh Jacobs and Brian Robinson, really 5 rounds? 6 rounds here? It's a couple. I'll give you a couple and be nice, but I don't think it's 6 rounds worth, but whatever. I digress. Some of the other options there for the Aaron Jones pick and the Brian Robinson pick as far as running backs would go: James Conner, Nick Chubb, Zach Moss for Aaron Jones. After Brian Robinson went Blake Corum, Zach Charbonnet, Devin Singletary, and then I'm the next guy who took running back in the 12th round. I take my 3rd straight running back, 1208, Jalen Wright. A little bit of an upside play, a little bit of that youth movement in my backfield, 1305. I do it again. Marshawn Lloyd was there at ADP, so I went ahead and nabbed up Marshawn Lloyd. Some other options for those guys. For Jalen Wright, your other options would have been Kendre Miller and Chase Brown. They went between where I took Jalen Wright and Marshawn Lloyd. After Marshawn Lloyd, you could have gone Austin Eckler, which I wouldn't have. I already had Brian Robinson, so I kind of made my bed there. You could have gone Raheem Mostert, Gus Edwards, Jerome Ford, Kamani Vidal. In the 14th round, thought about another running back, but this is a guy I really like. I have 5 wide receivers because I took those 2 extra quarterbacks. box early. I only had 5 wide receivers. I wanted to get a 6th. Tyler Lockett is my pick. And if you watched last week's video, you know Tyler Lockett goes in this range. He's pretty crusty, but he can still produce for me. And as my wide receiver 6, I like the fit. Ezekiel Elliott was another choice of mine, maybe for running back. Chuba Hubbard, who was in that video, I also thought about, but I had to go Tyler Lockett. And for those of you asking, yes, Gabe Davis was still available too. I could have taken Gabe Davis. Now we get to the 15th round, 1505. Gabe Davis goes 1 pick before me. Rats. Could have just locked up the whole video right there. Tyler Lockett, Gabe Davis, but instead I went with Ty Chandler. This one's interesting now that I look back on it. Ty Chandler for the youth. Me and Eric talked about it on America's Game this past week. I like Ty Chandler. He's going to have some workload. It is a little bit of insurance for Aaron Jones, and I'm not traditionally a guy who drafts handcuffs. And now looking at it, it just completely slipped my mind that I already had Aaron Jones. So this is on me because I did take a handcuff when I actively tell people not to take handcuffs. He's going to have some standalone value on his own outside of Aaron Jones, but for more of the community who's still into handcuffing, this would be a reasonable pick for you. Me now looking back in hindsight, I would have done it different. I probably would have gone with a Rico Dowdle. Damian Pierce went after. Tyler Algier went after. More than likely, it probably would have been Dowdle for me. Jaleel McLaughlin went after, or I could have really just did the home run swing for my guy Tyrone Tracy. So Ty Chandler, goof up by me, but if you ended up doing this with Aaron Jones and then Ty Chandler 5 rounds later, don't fret. It's not the worst thing in the world. Here we are through 15 rounds, and I bet you're asking yourself, Mike, you have no tight ends at all. Your tight end room is going to be atrocious. I'm here to tell you, I've built many teams like this, not the running back part. Now combining the two, I'd taken shots last year on some running backs, maybe in round 7, maybe in round 5 or 3, there was a vet there that you liked, so you went ahead and took them. This is the first year where I really implemented not taking running backs, not taking tight ends through the first 10 rounds, and I built successful teams last year that I thought could be just a little bit better. And the basis of how I built those teams was not drafting tight ends. As soon as Kuba introduced me to Warp and we started looking at Warp graphs and just how much tight ends don't matter in most leagues, big ol' asterisk on them, most leagues, probably 85-90% of your leagues, tight ends really do not matter. The people who are up there reaching for Evan Ingram and David Njoku and Cole Kmet in the 10th or 11th round, the George Kittles and the Dallas Goederts and the Dalton Schultz, you're doing yourself a disservice. Stop it. I'm trying to help you. Tight ends generally don't matter, and I built a lot of successful teams last year by ignoring the tight end position, especially until this mid part of the draft, right? We start to get in these team picks, and then I would start taking multiple tight ends, and all it takes is one hit or one breakout or one mini breakout, somebody to approach tight end 8, 9, be a tight end 1. And if you could have a couple guys like that where you can just cycle them in, Koopa's done fantastic work about this with A-Warp tight ends, how to avoid them, pick dudes up, cycle them off waivers, and what kind of production you'll have at the end of the year. Realistic ones. Tight ends really don't matter. So while you may be fretting that my tight end room is terrible, in the 16th round, I finally addressed tight ends with my guy Noah Fant, sitting over my shoulder here, staring at me. Real glad to be on the squad. What's up, Noah? Starting tight end for Seattle in the 16th round in a pass-happy offense. A guy who's athletic, dynamic. I know Adam loves this. Adam's a big Noah Fant fan. He's a big proponent of Noah Fant, possibly, maybe likely, breaking out in 2024, so we shall see. But at this cost, I'm more than willing to find out. More than willing to fuck around and find out on Noah Fant. 17th round. Now I take a tight end I liked last year. Split time with another good tight end. That tight end got injured. Then you saw some moments from this one towards the end of the season as Tucker Kraft in Green Bay. Why not Tucker Kraft? That might be my model for 2024. And then in the 18th round, Eric, pay attention. I took our guy, Jonnu Smith. So I take 3 straight tight ends. This is my entire tight end room now. Noah Fant, Tucker Kraft, Jonnu Smith. So at the end of the day, this is what the roster looks like. I have 4 quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, Michael Penix. Running backs. 5 running backs on the team. And again, this is only through 18 rounds, so you could add in some fillers to these positions and backfill with depth and find some more values. But I didn't want to go too far down. I just wanted to give you the basic premise of it. The running backs, Aaron Jones, Brian Robinson, Jalen Wright, Marshawn Lloyd, and Ty Chandler. In the wide receiver room, Drake London, Michael Pittman, Zay Flowers, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, and Tyler Lockett. That's it, man. That is the 0 running back, 0 tight end draft through 10 rounds. No running backs, no tight ends through 10 rounds. And I have absolutely love this team. I think there's a few things that you could do different. Maybe make it a little bit more polished to fit your needs or fit your comfort level. But if you kind of just go in with this base strategy of I ain't touching running back, I ain't touching tight ends through 10 rounds, unless something super egregious, right? Christian McCaffrey falls to the 6th round. Probably never going to happen. But if it did, you got my permission to go ahead and snatch him up. But all these guys where we think, oh man, he fell around or I'm getting a value on this running back, just don't do it. You'll be amazed at the kind of running back production and cheap running back production you can get in the 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th round. There's a lot of dart throws out there where realistically these guys could emerge. We saw all kinds of them do it last year. I shit on James Conner. He went out and made me look like an asshole. Same kind of principle. It's a lot of James Conner. Alvin Kamara was this dude last year. Aaron Jones back half of the season, kind of the same thing too. And then tight ends. The extensive work that we've done over here talking about how tight ends don't matter. You really don't need them. There's a lot of guys still available here on the board too. Just by ADP, if you wanted to add some more tight ends to this roster just to make you feel a little bit better, maybe you really do find a hidden gem. Mike Gesicki, Greg Dulcich, if that's your thing. Theo Johnson, Colby Parkinson, old man Zach Ertz, which Eric and I had talked about. As far as like wide receivers still hanging around, there's a couple rookies, Luke McCaffrey, Javon Baker, Jalen McMillan. If you want to do that, some real old crusties, Tyler Boyd, Odell Beckham, and running backs still hanging around, man. Rasheen Ali, Evan Hull, Deuce Vaughn. Might be a few more rounds before I'd consider that one. Jamal Williams, Samaje Perine. Some of those underrated guys that E and I were kind of diving into. So that's all I got. If you like this, please go down and comment. Let me know if you're going to try it out. Let me know if you already do. Maybe you're ahead of the game. Maybe you're the one who figured this out. But let me know what you think. Like and subscribe to the channel if you like what we're doing here. Really helps us out. Shows your support. Until next time, I'll see y'all. Happy drafting. Peace.